What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday to you. We are almost at the end of the week. Let me pull up my live stream here, see if it works. And I know I have to apologize to YouTube because I know what happened. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. But I ended up having two live streams scheduled for that day. Not sure how that happened, but whatever. I am not going to stay on long. And of course, this is an unplanned live stream. It's an unplanned live stream. And of course, I don't do live streams unless I catch something just very, very interesting, fascinating, funny, irony at best. So this morning on Facebook, I happened to see this reel of this guy, and he's on some conspiracy theorist stuff, right? Everybody on the internet is always on some conspiracy theory stuff. But what he's saying is something that, you know, how you see stuff play out and like you have all these little thoughts happening in the back of your mind, all of these scenarios of the why and the what could have been, would have been, root cause, all kinds of stuff. If you're a slightly analytical person, right, you'll look at situations, and it's only natural as a human being for you to just kind of ponder other things outside of what is being presented to you in this situation. So, obviously, we're kind of past, we're post, the unfortunate situation with Charlie Kirk, and everyone is, what's going on, Ghetto Planet? Let me know what you think about this too, okay? I'm glad you're on. I am so glad you're on. I want you to hear something real quick, and then let me know if you had even kind of an inkling of this. I said something to the effect in one of my live stream, like, damn, Candace Owens is going real hard for Charlie Kirk. I'm like, did they sleep together or something? Like, I was wondering because I'm like, damn, she is going harder for Charlie Kirk than anybody from that conservative end. Like, I see people coming out kind of validating what Candace said after the fact. But like, if Candace never pointed out all of these obvious things, right, while everybody else is being fake about, Charlie's passing and their relationship with him, if she was not kind of bold enough to start even calling that out, like, you wouldn't have this ripple effect of other conservative people now calling it out. And obviously, it's a profit center for all of them to call it out and validate what she says because they see that she's getting millions of views from this coverage of being, outspoken about what she thinks may have been maybe even possible cause of those actions, right? So listen to dude. Oh.
A memorial tribute video of Charlie Kirk on her Instagram. Like, she put all of their pictures together in it. They had
And you know
videos of
what?
them singing in the car. And I have a lot of thoughts about this. There's the obvious ones that, to be honest, that video genuinely got the closest to humanizing him for me. For a second, I was like, oh, but then I remembered who he is. But yeah.
Okay, so this guy is obviously not a Charlie Kirk fan, but he's been listening to all of the coverage of Candace Owens, right? And he said that it was Candace Owens' coverage of Charlie Kirk's, unfortunate situation that actually humanized Charlie for him, somebody who is an opposer. Like he said, I actually kind of felt bad, in a moment because now she was able to humanize Charlie Kirk by her tribute. And he's going to mention how, of all the tributes to Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens seemed the most genuine. So let's go there.
Compared to how everyone else has been acting about this, compared to Donald Trump being like, oh yeah, it's very sad. Anyways, did you hear about my bathroom? Or his wife doing all this performative stuff. And just
okay, let me stop there because there's been a lot of speculation. Can you guys hear what's going on Welcome, 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 welcome. Oh, thank you for timing people out. We are unapologetic over here. You come over here with that dumbass shit, you're gonna get blocked unapologetically. But anyways, I've been hearing a lot of people mention Charlie Kirk's wife possibly not being genuine. I've heard Amazing Lucas give commentary. I've heard other people give commentary about how she kind of came off more performative in these, in the subsequent, days, week after her husband's death. And, I feel like, in a way that's kind of not fair. I think that, everybody grieves differently. Now, one thing that I would say is I don't know Erika Kirk from Adam. So I don't know what is her genuine emotions and reactions to anything, right? Obviously, if you're a mother and if you are a wife and you are kind of deeply entrenched with what your husband is involved with, right? It all could just be a shock, right? And for some women, they could go the self-sabotage route and they just feel so destroyed and vulnerable that they can't do shit, right? Or some women, they understand that, okay, I got to muster up my strength in this moment, right? Because it's not just about me, it's about my children, it's about the organization that my husband built. It's all these things that I think she at that moment realized, and at that time. And sometimes when you have such a big sort of undertaking of inheritance coming your way, right? That distracts the grieving process. And so I do find that it's unfair that people are saying that she's performing. Do I feel like her coming out and speaking to the public so soon after her husband's death was necessary? She didn't owe anybody anything at that moment. Not one person. Nobody from Turning Point USA, nobody from the conservative movement. She was a woman who just lost her husband in a very, like traumatic way possible in front of, a lot of people. I really do feel like, you know, she she had a right to mourn how she needed to mourn. She had the right to gain her strength the way that she wanted to gain her strength. And, only thing is, I'm just thinking that, she had a right to grieve. And I don't know if, she necessarily should have felt compelled to be out giving, powerful speeches and empowering other people to fight and be vigilant, at that particular moment. I don't even think the memorial was even a moment to inspire people to do anything outside of the things that she did do, was get people to kind of understand what the scripture says about, husband wife relationships and all that good jazz. But I've been trying to research her occupational history, and especially all Google findings have been updated. I can't find definitive records of her past work, just dismissive updates. You're right, I should be more considerate, but the lack of information for such a prominent woman before Kirk is strange. I don't know. I mean, I heard some things where Erika Kirk is significantly, not significantly, but she older than Charlie Kirk. So I think she's about 5 years older than him. And she majored, from what I understand, in political science. So obviously, people don't really major in political science unless they plan on doing something significant in the political space. And sometimes it's, who that can get you to the next level. So I think that just having a husband like Charlie Kirk, was the political recognition that she definitely needed to get her name recognition out there and established. But in terms of what Charlie wanted her to do within the realm of politics, I think that only her and her husband knows that, because sometimes, you know, he may not want her to pursue certain things, not because he's trying to hold her back career wise, but maybe because he knows how dangerous it can be being woven into these swamps of people who are trying to have power. So we don't know what the conversation was between her and her husband, but you definitely can see, with Charlie out of the way, this is an opportunity for her to be able to face that organization, and continue on with the legacy of her husband in his name. Now, will Turning Point USA actually survive? I don't think so. I mean, when you look at the reporting coming all out of the way, Max Blumenthal, you got Candace Owens, you got all these people talking about being bold enough now that Candace was like the fire starter, right? They should be giving so much praise to that black woman over there for, being a super sloop, right? But you got all these reports, coming out about Charlie's final days, final times, conversations, what was making him feel uncomfortable, right? Everybody's on the mic now talking about that, right? And they're validating what Candace said. But, off that, Candace is always on her conspiracy theories. I'm going to start this over again. And y'all let me know what you guys think about this guy's conspiracy theories, because I kind of felt like for a long time, like, yes, I understand Charlie Kirk was her friend, um but but I didn't see anybody on the conservative side going as hard at for justice for Charlie, getting down to the root cause and who, what, where, when, why, rationality, you know, as hard as Candace Owens. Like, so, that tells you a lot that she was a true friend to him. Right? Now, would Charlie Kirk do the same thing for Candace Owens if that happened to her and the tables were turned? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I really don't think so. I think he would be sad. He would be upset. He would, but he would not go as hard and risk as much, as Candace, obviously don't mind risking for her as she's doing for him. That's just my opinion. And I think a lot of people, if they kind of boil it down, and I'm explaining why too. So let's listen to Duke.
So Candace Owens just uploaded a memorial tribute video of Charlie Kirk on her Instagram. Like, she put all of their pictures together in it. They had videos of them singing in the car, and I have a lot of thoughts about this. There's the obvious ones that, to be honest, that video genuinely got the closest to humanizing him for me. For a second I was like, oh, but then I remembered who he is. But yeah, compared to how everyone else has been acting about this, compared to Donald Trump being like, oh yeah, it's very sad. Anyways, did you hear about my bathroom? Or his wife doing all this performative stuff, and just genuinely every conservative commentator coming out to talk about Charlie Kirk, but putting some veiled threat towards liberals or trans people in it. Candace Owens is genuinely the first one that I've seen that's she genuinely cared about him. She genuinely cared about him and is torn up about this. And there's just such an extreme irony that someone who spent his whole career putting down women and black people is in the end only actually mourned by a black woman. It's crazy.
That's messed up. That is messed up. That is messed up, because again, I think that there's a lot of people who mourn Charlie Kirk. There's a lot of people who are upset and in their feelings. I think that this guy is being a little facetious, but not quite. Because again, when you talk about all those people who was on Turning Point USA's ball sack, right? All these conservatives wanting to be at these events and everything like that. At the end of the day, it was Candace Owens. It is Candace Owens who is going the hardest for him.
The end only actually mourned by a black woman. It's crazy. But that brings me to my next thing. I just know Charlie Kirk's wife fucking hates Candace. Look at this. Look at this. Look at that picture of him. If I were a Nazi, and my husband was in pictures like this, I don't even know what I'd do. I would throw myself out of a building. And obviously you can make jokes from there, like say, oh, they were totally fucking on the side. No, they weren't fucking on the side. But I kind of feel like they wanted to. Not even that they wanted to fuck each other, but I feel like they genuinely, they wanted to be together, but couldn't. Like, take a look at this message exchange between them. This was after Charlie Kirk didn't like Candace's boyfriend. So Candace had them hang out. Here's the messages after that. His heart is wonderful. You guys are meant for each other. I see it brilliantly and clearly. Candace says he's assertive, loves politics, believes in God, comes from a great family, and is a fighter. Charlie, yes, and has been through hell. He gets it. He isn't afraid of you being you. At the bottom, yes, he would be beside me and be proud. He'd be beside me proudly. Like, Charlie's messages here, they're reading like, this is like the depths of fucking AO3. This is like friends to lovers yearning here. And then Candace, it feels like in the top message, right above the hat, it feels like she's describing everything about Charlie, everything that she sees about Charlie. And then the final message, yes, he would be beside me proudly. That's the one thing that doesn't apply to him. That's the one thing that she wishes would apply to him. She wants to be with Charlie, but she knows that he wouldn't be beside her publicly. And Charlie wants her, but can't get over it.
Okay, and I feel this. I feel this theory so much. And like I said in my last live stream, I'm like, did they have sex or something? Because I mean, this is beyond a friendship. I'm just, I'm a little, this is a lot. She had a lot going on there. But this is interesting because, I'll say this, right? When you think about that conservative, circle that Candace and Charlie rolled in, right? I think that there was definitely an expectation for Candace Owens to be with a white man, right? I don't think Candace Owens would have the clout that she has right now on the conservative side if she had settled herself down with a black man. I just don't think that, right? I think for image, facade, you look at every single major black conservative, they have a white mate. It's almost like a requirement over on that side of the aisle. Like if you're a black person on that side, it's like, okay, there's Chad, Susan, pick which one you want, right? But you have to have one of them, right? Usually black conservatives are, not with black people, right? Because they have to placate into some idealism and narrative that black people are inferior, and that inferiority even comes down to not being good marriage mates for even them, even their black asses. So, anyways, I think in that side of the aisle, right, where you have like a white dude that may be attracted to a black woman like Candace Owens, right? But he understands what that means for his family that thinks, in a very extremist way, very old way, right? He understands what it means for his ideological group if he's part of that white Christian nationalist group. She's the wrong paint job, the wrong alignment for a Charlie Kirk. So I think even if they probably were feeling each other, they could never have any type of public relationship. They could never be together because Charlie would not be willing to stand next to Candace Owens proudly, right? He could, I am reading in between the lines of these texts, right? Like they're going, like, first of all, Charlie, you're kind of in the context this guy's presenting it. Charlie didn't like Candace's boyfriend, who is now her husband, right? And so she had them go out together, right? So that they can meet each other, get to know each other, whatnot. And then so Charlie is texting her his opinions of her husband, right? And so
yes, he would be beside me proudly. That's the one thing that doesn't apply to him. That's the one thing.
All right, let's go back.
He would be beside me and be proud. He'd be beside me proudly.
Right.
Charlie's messages here, they're reading like, this is like the depths of fucking AO3. This is like friends to lovers yearning here. And then Candace, it feels like feels like in the top message, right above the hat, it feels like she's describing everything about Charlie, everything that she sees about Charlie, and then the final message, yes, he would be beside me proudly. That's the one thing that doesn't apply to him. That's the one thing that she wishes would apply to him. She wants to be with Charlie, but she knows that he wouldn't be beside her publicly, and Charlie wants her, but can't get over it. Like,
No, he wants her. Yeah, he wants her. He can't be beside her publicly, right? So, I mean, it happens like this. I mean, I hear, a lot of black women who, they hang out, date white men, or they have friendships with white men. They keep their limits, they keep their spaces a lot of time because, they don't take it seriously, right? Like, if you date, or hang out with a white dude, you're not doing it like most black women that I know of. If they've done it, they don't really take it serious. It's just like something to try, right? But at the end of the day, they're gonna end up with, like, a black guy, right? That's like their preference, their interest. But everybody kind of goes on their dating explorations and try. But like most black women know, right? There are certain white men, that you really don't take seriously on the dating front. They're just fun, curiosity at best, right? Because they're looking at us the same way, right? And so you got to look at them how they look at you. So if you're like, oh, I want to play in the snow, right? Okay, play in the snow, but don't, really let the winter be your season, because you're not going to really be the season for it, your summer season, if you will. Um, but I think that, yeah, I think that these two were feeling each other. I think that, they were joined by passion and common interests and common drive. I'm pretty sure Candace could visualize herself with a Charlie versus a George. George is very boring. Charlie had a lot of character. He didn't mind talking a little shit, right? Candace probably liked that, right? I mean, here's the thing. There are certain, types of people, no matter what color they are, right? They're just attractive, right? And so if I had to choose between a Charlie Kirk and like, this is just if I had to choose a white guy, all right? If I just had to choose between Charlie Kirk and George Farmer, right? I choose Charlie Kirk. I would choose Charlie Kirk, right? And on personality, fun, character alone, he just has more. He had more electrifying, personality, you know, than him, right? So I mean, but obviously Candace got what she could get, and obviously Charlie was not going to be able to. He needed to settle his life with a blonde hair, you know, white woman, not no Candace Owens. Okay. And so that's kind of where the love story ends for them. But I agree with this dude. These text messages, the way Candace is going hard for this man like she has, this is beyond just a
to be
friend.
with Charlie, but she knows that he wouldn't be beside her publicly, and Charlie wants her, but can't get over it. Like, I genuinely can't fucking handle the level of yearning going on here. Oh, it's insane. So Candace Owens just up.
So let me know. She got engaged, I think, after 8 weeks with dude. Right. Who was she trying to get over that damn fast? Charlie Kirk, probably. Okay, we this is our conspiracy theory time, all right? But I think that she was in love with that man. I wouldn't even be surprised if they kind of fooled around before he got married, right? Because they were both kind of, because she knew him before he met his wife, right? So I think they probably fooled around maybe a little bit, you know? And then, but at the same time, you can have somebody as a friend with benefits, right? But at the end of the day, there's this, unspoken, reality that, we're not going to be together forever. Like, we're not each other's forever people for whatever barriers that we have created for us not to be each other's forever people. Usually, when you're dealing with a white guy and a black woman, it's usually the white guy is interested in the black woman. He likes the way she treats him a lot of times, but he still can't reconcile being with a black woman. And again, it still goes back to what I was talking about in my previous videos about the whole colorism thing. Sometimes men are not colorists, right? They just have a preference of a woman that is based on something familiar, like their mom or whoever nurtured them. So, like my friend Lance, for example, every single chick that he dates, just like my little neighbor next door, they are women that look like their mothers, right? And so I know that my friend Lance has a preference. He's a white dude, right? And he likes darker haired, tiny, white chicks. Whereas my neighbor, he goes for the blonde haired, tiny white chicks. But when you look at their mothers, these women that they constantly like is a reflection of her. And they have good mothers that treated them good. So that plays into people's preferences. And so again, that could have been something that held Charlie back, possibly, who knows? Or, just that white evangelical, we don't race mix and we don't do that race mix and stuff over here. And so for public image, right, they had to kind of leave all that yearning where, in check, because it wasn't never going to happen for where both of them were going. Um, and I'm curious how Charlie, what that relationship with Charlie was like when Candace went over to the Daily Wire, right? And just the cycles of that particular friendship, because you got two ambitious people. They're successful in their own right. He has his Turning Point USA. Even when Candace is away from Turning Point USA, Turning Point USA is blowing up, without her, even though she was a contributor. She was on the Daily Wire. Now she has her show. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Do you think that Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens might have had some love triangle per this guy?
Make jokes from there, like say, "Oh, they were totally fucking on the side." No, they weren't fucking on the side. But I kind of feel like they wanted to. Not even that they wanted to fuck each other, but I feel like they genuinely, they wanted to be together, but couldn't. Like, take a look.
So, did you guys look at Candace's tribute to Charlie Kirk? Did it feel like it was just a friendly tribute, right? Or do you feel like this was a woman who was missing or mourning a man that she had some feelings for at maybe one time? Not saying that she doesn't love her husband, right? But this is what people are saying now, that she might have had deeper feelings for Charlie Kirk. They may have had deeper feelings for each other. And that is why she is going so Nancy Drew on trying to figure out, all these reasons why Charlie is not with us anymore. Let me know what you guys think. Let me get to the comments. Let me see. I think they had a thing but couldn't be together. Star-crossed lovers. I agree. I agree. I agree. I mean, and again, it's about that public image. That crowd that he was still placating to, that white Christian nationalist crowd, and they couldn't have seen him with her black ass. That would have been. I don't even think he would have been taken seriously if he was seen with anything other than a blonde hair, blue eyed, or at least a white woman at best. Even with Candace having the clout that she has on that side, I still don't think Charlie Kirk being with her was a good part of that narrative. Both of them knew it, I think Charlie was aware of it more than probably Candace. And I'm pretty sure, you know, they probably, if they did have anything, it was probably just fun and flings for Charlie, right? Because he knew that's all it ever could be. So who knows? You said Charlie is a saint. That's a matter of opinion. You said Donald Trump, like, wow, you demons really be worshiping these people. How sad. Um, there's a saying when you stay in the middle of the road, you get hit by both sides. There's a saying that you shouldn't stand in the middle of the road because only idiots do that. You should probably just like walk across and be on your way. All right. Anyways, people weird. You say Erika might be an Esther. I think it was what did you say, Ghetto Black? Yeah, I agree. No, I think that they definitely came to terms with that this can only be a friendship, but I think it was a friendship built on mutual respect. Like I truly do feel like Charlie Kirk respected Candace Owens. I don't think that Charlie Kirk was a racist. I think that Charlie Kirk understood that there was a demographic of people to cater to in certain conversational manners. Again, I said this before, and people really don't realize that this happened, right? You know, when Trump ran in his first term, right? Hillary Clinton was like, what did he say? There was a news. Somebody was talking to her about or asking her um, about Trump increasing the Republican, voting registration. It was a question along that line of the increase, and this is during Trump's first term. And she said something about he was bringing deplorables, or he was something about deplorables. She made a deplorable. So she called the people that Trump was bringing into the voting process deplorables. But it was those deplorable people, right? These were your rural individuals, the people who live in these small towns, population people look mostly like them, right? And so they hold on to ideologies that are passed down to populations that look like them that are in that lower socioeconomic um, situation. A lot of times people want to put a color or a race to poverty, but they don't realize that right rural America, they are the urban black reality. And so Trump was like, well, they are a voting base to tap into. And consequently, that voting base had a lot of evangelicals. And again, these are people that even the Republican Party were not reaching, right? So Trump was going into areas and he was, invigorating a segment of America that was basically forgotten. Nobody cared about them. No politicians reached out to them. No politicians communicated to them or even created them as a base. Trump did that. So a lot of these MAGA type of people, these are a lot of these people who make up the MAGA, not all of that movement, these are old white thought people, right? Old white supremacy, old white superiority. My daddy was a bigot. His daddy was a bigot. His daddy was a bigot. They're old white America thinking people. The legacies, the descendants of those people. Okay? So when we want to talk about the heighten of white supremacy increasing, in America, right? You got to think about who did Trump bring into the political process? Who did he create a constituency for, as a base? It was old white thought America and their descendants who were forgotten, so they were just these people under a rock basically, while everybody else, you know, was progressing in modern America, participating. They were just politicians, didn't want to talk to them, right? So these are the minds that Trump brought into his MAGA base. And so, again, you got to still communicate with these people. You still got to resonate with these people. And you got to do it in a way that doesn't make you feel like you're being overtly racist. And so this is where people like Charlie Kirk came in. He understood that, right? And so even if Charlie wasn't overtly racist himself, he had to placate into the idealisms and the mindsets of those people. Because guess what? No matter how poor a lot of these people are, if you invigorate them with a message and an idea that they really like and can be a part of, they'll give you money. But, anyways, you guys, let's see what the comments are saying. You said because MAGA just so lame. You know, here's the thing, political parties in general are so lame. They don't have anybody's interest in mind but some, small group of people and their children and their children and their children. And of course, you got the glory whores woven into the equations too. But I think all political parties are lame. What's going on, Brian? I see you. I see you. You said there's an alternate universe where Bernie Sanders won and America is slightly better. What would America be like if Bernie won? I mean, what would America be like if Bernie won? I'm trying to visualize it. I don't know. I got dust mites. I mean, I can't even visualize it because I feel like we've been so ebb and flowy with these Democrats and these Republicans. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's almost like with Bernie Sanders, it's like I almost got to imagine what America would be like if AOC, you know, were president. And uh-uh. I can't. That city girl, she's like a mild city girl congresswoman. You said maybe influence people or leave. Healing unicorn. What are you talking about? What are you saying? Can you clarify yourself? I'm not sure what you're talking about. But anyways, you guys, let me get off because I am so tired. I had to I chaperoned my son's field trip, then went back to work. So I am spent. But I did want to go over this video because I thought it was interesting. I'm like, could it be that they were in love?
Just uploaded a memorial tribute video of Charlie Kirk on her Instagram. Like she put all of their pictures together in it.
And somebody else said that Candace Owens wasn't invited to his memorial. Now, mind you, the memorial was public, right? There were tickets, so but obviously I would assume that they would have VIP special, event, you know, area for people who were closest to him. Obviously, they would have extra security. So, but someone was saying that she was not invited. And I'm just wondering, like, did his wife ever pick up vibes that maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Interesting theory. Candace Owens is always creating conspiracies about other people, or at least putting conspiracies on the table. in the form of questions about other people. So this guy's conspiracy about her and Charlie Kirk is definitely
They had like
interesting.
videos of them singing in the car, and I have a lot of thoughts about this. Like, there's the obvious ones that, to be honest, that video like genuinely got the closest to humanizing him for me. Like for a second, I was like, oh, but then I remembered who he is. But yeah, compared to how everyone else has been acting about this, compared to Donald Trump being like, oh yeah, it's very sad. Anyways, did you hear about my bathroom? Or his wife doing like all this performative stuff, and just genuinely every like conservative commentator coming out to talk about Charlie Kirk, but putting like some veiled threat towards liberals or trans people in it. Candace Owens is genuinely the first one that I've seen that's like, she genuinely cared about him. She genuinely cared about him and is torn up about this. And there's just such an extreme irony that someone who spent his whole career putting down women and black people is in the end only actually mourned by a black woman. It's
That's fucked up that he said that. That's fucked up that he said that. His wife probably doesn't like Candace low key, not publicly. I can feel that. I can feel that, but at the same time, the one thing I did say is, you know, so according to, all these conservatives who are now jumping on the Candace Owen train and kind of validating some of her claims about Charlie's fears, concern, loss of donors, right? So Turning Point USA towards the end of Charlie's life was losing a lot of big time donors, allegedly, according to these sources and reports that are out there. They were losing a lot of pro Israel donors because obviously Charlie was questioning things that they didn't want him to be questioning, right? And a lot of people, are saying that it was kind of Charlie's curiosity, that, how they say curiosity kills the cat, right? It can also get your donors pulling money. And so I'm curious, you know, Turning Point is a very integral influence in the conservative movement. And so I don't think that the powers that be would really want to see that organization fail or go down. I think what they would want to see, though, is Charlie Kirk, the face of the organization, who is what I would think, according to these reports, if I could read between the lines, was maybe feeling a little too powerful beside himself. That, hey, I can say whatever I want to say. I've been on your side. I've gained enough of your trust to be able to say whatever I want to. And they're like, who told you that? Who told you that? And then it just seemed like the donors was like, okay, this guy is needs a humbling. And so there are reports that major Turning Point USA donors were pulling their money because of Charlie's positions, right? Now, you know, who knows, the real reason why these donors did this, but like if we could speculate a bit and play the conspiracy theorist card again, I can imagine that Turning Point USA is going to get those donors back. Now that his wife is the face of the organization, I don't think that Erika Kirk is going to be on the microphone talking like Charlie, started talking, right? Even though he had a pro-Israel stance, right? I don't think Erika Kirk gonna have the balls to talk like that. She doesn't even have the boldness nor the articulation like Candace Owens to just start spouting off conspiracies, right? So she's gonna be not very interesting. She needs to stay home and raise them kids. And, obviously they're gonna need to find another face. And again, with Turning Point USA, again, once you get a man that built something, you cannot replace that man, right? you gotta, you gotta adjust the model, figure out what the business model is gonna be, moving forward. But he was the face of that company, right? He was the face of that company. Even no matter what CEO that you have come after him, unless they're dynamic like Charlie Kirk, right? That organization is going to be interesting, what happens, because again, sometimes you have the faces of your organization, you have the organization and the faces of the organizations. Arguably, I think that a lot of people that went to the Turning Point USA events, they probably liked to, Turning Point USA, right? But they were probably there to see Charlie Kirk. Like, he was the face of the organization, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure they had 1,000 other speakers, right? But when I think of, and I don't follow these circles like that, but when I think about Turning Point USA, I think of Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. Those two. And the only reason why I think about Candace Owens is because they started off together, and that was like kind of the beginning of her career. When I started following her is when she was doing the Turning Point USA stuff. So I don't know how Erika Kirk is going to, really manage the business model of Turning Point USA with the face of the organization being gone. And I do, like, I'm not going to speculate, but there's this other guy on here, and he has an interesting title to his video. All right. And I'm not going to say that I agree with this or anything like that. But again, I mentioned earlier that there were some other people who were saying that they thought that her response, Erika Kirk's response, was performative. I kept hearing that. So this dude does a video, and let me see if they might have made him take it down. Let me see if I can find this. And he is breaking down some interesting stuff. And again, I don't think that, I think that we all have shadows of a thought of things like this, but I don't know what her interest would be to harm her husband. But this dude has a whole damn video about how he feels like she's performative, and he thinks that she may have even conspired to, that somehow she was involved because she wanted power and she wanted position, and being behind Charlie inhibited that. They must have made him remove it. Where is it? I mean, he just put this out today. Well, if I find it, I will put it in the chat, but so that you guys can let me know what you think in the comments. But this dude, the the title kind of took me back a little bit. And I'm wondering, because they're scrubbing the internet a lot, making sure that people aren't. He was talking about Candace Owens too. He felt like Candace Owens was going harder for Charlie than Erika Kirk. Again, I'm not going to speculate on the woman's response. Hodge twins and Nick Fuentes think the MAGA movement is not the same. the Hodge twins, they've been getting clowned lately too, because I guess they've been getting what they would call their Negro wake up call. I guess there's a town where they want all white people, right? And the Hodge twins, I guess, rushed out to the guy who posted about the all white town and asked them would they be willing to make exceptions for them. And he goes, "Oh, I love the Hodge twins." He said, "But no." And I mean, this is what happens when doing the old shuck and jive for folks, for their validation. Candace Owens is not safe. Okay, I think it's this dude's channel. Yeah. So let me go here to this live stream. This is Will Evans. And shout out to him. So he has a video that he posted. Okay, this was a day ago called Charlie Kirk wife involved question mark. And then he says Candace Owens silence on this. And he's also claiming that Candace Owens' life might be being threatened over Charlie Kirk as well. So, which I already said, like, we pray for Candace, but sometimes you make your bed, you gotta lie in it. Now you out here pissing off folks and just saying shit, right? And because you got the boldness to say it, and you're getting egged on by a bunch of cowards who don't have the boldness to say it because they're not going to compromise their livelihood or their idea of peace to say the shit that you're saying about the people that you're saying it about. But this is how you're going to make your tokens. And I wonder how much these people, they better be paying Candace Owens a whole lot. Some of these cowardly white folks over there, they have that woman just out encouraging her to her own detriment like that. And then they be talking about prayers for you, all the while egging her on. Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. And they be the main ones not paying her shit to risk her life to do the shit that she's doing. But anyways, he's saying pray for Candace. Will Evans is the channel. Shout out to Will Evans. And he's saying that he feels like Charlie Kirk's wife is acting weird. And I guess again, like, I want to know how the woman is acting weird. I mean, I definitely feel like she's out there a lot more than I would think a grieving widow would be out there. I mean, especially if you really truly loved your husband and y'all was just real close like that. Like, I really wouldn't be able to say shit to nobody, right? Like, I wouldn't feel compelled or obligated to say shit to anybody because, I want to be able to grieve in peace. I don't know what to say to y'all people because I don't know what to think, right? That would be me, right? But, I mean, she was out there making statements, very soon. And I was like, damn, wow, really? Why do you feel like you need to do this? And it was a lot of political fervor mixed with a lot of religious fervor in there. And, you know, everybody has their thought process about stuff, but people are starting to just look at it's all sus to me. They're moving this process along too fast, right? If you really want us to organically believe everything, post everything, right? We needed Erika Kirk grieving a little bit more. We needed her kind of coming out of the shadows after a duration of time. But again, this is all a puppet show. All of this is the world is a stage, y'all. The world is a stage, right? I'm pretty sure if we just unveil everything, we would be so surprised at what was and what was not. What was for the eye what was a projection for the eye, what was probably real, right? It's all MK Ultra, y'all. I really do feel that way. Candace can't talk about Erika. There's a radioactive topic for her specifically. Absolutely. She can't, right? Because I think the speculations of what old dude is putting out now, it would come up like, what, Candace is jealous of her, right? There would be so many narrations about Candace. That's why Candace can't outright say, that she has like that Erika is sus, right? But Candace in her facial expressions as she's looking at Erika, eulogize her husband, can say more than Candace can ever say. And I think if you go back and you look at that video again, and maybe you feel like, maybe some things are not being said, but they're being said, you know? So, you said, what would you do if when you okay? So he said yes. I don't know what you're saying, but like, are you talking about the conversation that I was mentioning earlier, where this guy says something in here. Let me let you guys hear this argument because this was very interesting, and I guess this is how he kind of set it up, and I think it's around 10 minutes that Will starts talking about, I guess his ideas about Erika Kirk, right? And let me go in. I think it's about 10 minutes, right?
Press run. And it seems like she's on a press run right now. When that's the first video, like I just played for you guys, God, anything that's incorrect, let it be clear that it came from me. Anything correct, let it be clear that the situation is weird. And for me, it started with the statement that she made, like I said, when they found his killer. But then when you watch the memorial, the entire memorial looked like a press rep, like the DNC or the RNC. It didn't look like it was there to celebrate the life of Charlie Kirk. Now, I know the speakers did a great job, and I understand that Charlie Kirk was this big polarizing figure, and a lot of the people there were going to be big polarizing people because of that. But it seemed like a political rally, in my opinion. And it seemed like a changing of the guards. Like, Erika, you got to do this way in order for you to be in the good graces of these politicians. It seemed like this was a press run. And it seems like she's on a press run right now. When that's the first video, like I just played for you guys, that you post on this channel, like a wife is not this and a wife is not that. Bro, what message are you trying to send us? Everything, especially with these political types, everything is a message. Everything is marketing. Everything is positioning. And it's interesting because she started changing her tune. I want to break down the history of Erika Kirk. And these are from press releases. By the way, what I'm reporting from is from press releases that were put out by her team. I'm in media, and I was in entertainment business before I got into this space, and I know how press releases work. They send the companies that want to interview you. I've done a lot of these. The companies that want to interview you, they send you a Q&A. You fill out the Q&A with the answers that you want them to present, and then they publish it saying this is a direct quote from this person. That's how they usually do it when they reach out to you for comment. So when I see all these press releases that are now coming out as Erika Kirk taking the CEO position of Charlie Kirk's company, it makes me feel like, it makes me sit back. First of all, her taking the CEO position, I understand it. That's his wife. I get it. On the outside looking in, it's like, who else is going to take that seat other than his wife? I want my wife to take over my company when I'm gone. So I understand it from that perspective. Now, there is
and shout out to Will. I'm just
qualifications, previous relationships, obviously different things like that. But I don't have a problem initially with Erika Kirk taking over. What I do have a problem with is the press run and the marketing
Okay,
on it.
give
2
me
weeks
one
after your husband was gruesomely murdered in front of everybody.
Right.
Even in the initial statement that she made, one thing that rubbed me the wrong way and rubbed a lot of people the wrong way was how she was like, I can't remember the last time I slept. And it was like, at that point, Charlie had been murdered like 2 days prior. So it's like, huh? It's like the overcompensation felt weird. You can't remember the last time.
Okay, and so he's not the only person who felt like it was kind of something a little forced about her just being a media presence so very, 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 very soon after her husband died. Like, honestly, I really didn't even expect to hear from Erika Kirk until maybe the memorial. But she had did like some other video message or something like that, and it was like days after Charlie died, and I'm like, why is she doing this? Did somebody tell her to do this? Why can't she just sit back grieving? It just and then she just I don't know. It just and even I don't know. Something about that just seemed like off. And again, everybody grieves differently, but it just seemed kind of off to me.
You slept 2 days ago. Charlie was just here. And then all these things tied together. I didn't have a lot to say about this. Even though I had all the information, I didn't want to bring it to the platform out of respect for Charlie Kirk, out of respect for marriage. But when she posted that video on Charlie Kirk's TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube about what a wife's role is, I was like, nah, I got to speak on it. It's getting too weird. Somebody got to say something. So, if we go through this article, this is one of the first press releases that she's put out, allegedly. And she's basically, presenting herself to the public for her career to be launched. And that's what the political rally or the funeral or the memorial, that's what it felt like to me. It felt like a soft launch for Erika Kirk's political career. That's what it felt like to me. I'm sorry. The article says, where Turning Point USA's Erika Kirk stands on gender roles, marriage, and motherhood. Now, one of the criticisms on Charlie Kirk is that people say, because you never know if people are telling the truth when they talk about Charlie or not, from what I've seen at least. People say that he had this like misogynistic view on women should stay home and never work and blah, 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 which I don't know to be true. But that's one of the narratives out there. So, because of that, people are going, let's see what Erika Kirk feels about this since she's taken over as the CEO in this role. The article says, Charlie Kirk and his wife were united in purpose. With his death, she takes his place as a defining voice in the country's Christian conservative movement. Interesting. She takes his place. Nobody can take the place of that man. He was who he was. Now, she can
Something about this is kind of bro code too. Like, I mean, and I'm not trying to be funny, but it's just like maybe his commentary is rooted in a man not liking seeing a woman replace him, and what he's built. This is what is kind of coming off to me. And again, everybody is speculating on something, but I think that this is coming from a dude. He says he has several companies, and I don't know, maybe, he can't fathom him being, in Charlie's situation, like something happens to him, and now his wife, a woman, is ahead of all his stuff. This is what is kind of given to me in a way.
Or she can continue his legacy, but she's not taking his place. But anyways, that's maybe I'm just...
Like, he really needed to emphasize that to us, that she can continue his legacy, but she ain't taking his place. I mean, I don't know.
It's being a semantic, I don't want to say the word, N-A-Z-I. No pun intended. Erika Kirk, the widow of slain right-wing activist Charlie Kirk, concluded her eulogy for him by saying that she was tremendously honored to be the new chief executive of Turning Point USA, the nonprofit affiliated advocacy organization he co-founded, Charlie Kirk co-founded, more than a decade ago to promote conservative ideology among young people. with that appointment, Kirk has been one of the most prominent figures in the country's Christian conservative movement. Charlie and I quote this from Erika. There's a relationship already there, a small one. Obviously, Charlie Kirk had a huge relationship with Vance and Trump, and he was a big proponent of getting Trump elected and doing a lot.
Did you know that the most...
Okay, I want to get to the point that he mentioned about the power struggle of women behind powerful men. Because I feel like he was alluding to Erika Kirk possibly having a problem with being behind a powerful man.
Marriage is a business. And she's older than Charlie Kirk as well. For all my women, you guys know what I'm saying. She was older. She's older than Charlie Kirk by like 4 or 5 years or something like that. There's actually a woman, I'm going to play her another woman's video. She breaks down the history of
Which is not that much older in the broad scheme of things. I mean, this guy says she's older than Charlie Kirk, like she's like a freaking Kruger, like she's 15, 20 years older than him. 5 years older than a man, I don't know. Noah's wife was older than hers, or older than him.
History of Erika Kirk really well. I'm going to play it in a second. She knows that marriage is a business, and maybe she didn't intend. I'm just assuming and speculating right now. Maybe Erika Kirk didn't intend that when she married Charlie Kirk that she wouldn't have her own platform, or that like she would become Charlie Kirk's wife more than she would be Erika, Kirk. And sometimes that's misunderstood or that's underestimated when you get with a successful man. I've had the same, me and my wife have had to work through similar conflicts in the past, where it's like, baby, I understand like the pressure of being my wife. When we go out in public, everybody want to stop and take pictures with me, or they want to, because obviously I have a following outside. So I understand the pressure. And that could be a marital conflict. And you don't know if they were in the middle of that marital conflict with all this going on, and then he just gets killed, and then she's like, I was angry at him yesterday. How could I not be angry at him today, even though I'm hurt that he's gone? I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
So he's making the argument that somehow, he feels like, I feel like he's narrating that she may not be as sad as she's leading on to be, and that this was actually something that benefits her because it gives her a chance to have a career and a name for herself outside of the shadow of Charlie Kirk, which is true. I mean, let's just say this woman did have ambitions, right? She was never going to realize them in the shadow of Charlie Kirk. And this kind of goes back to Michelle Obama recently talking about Barack and Aisha Curry even. There are a lot of women, I do believe, that they are actually jealous of their successful men because they are able to achieve or have achieved getting to places that they have not. And, as opposed to a man being in the shadows of a powerful woman, these women are in the shadows of these powerful men, right? I think Michelle even said she didn't think that Barack was going to be the more successful known one, right? And so maybe, he's saying that maybe Erika Kirk maybe underestimated Charlie Kirk and how big the organization would get. And maybe she kind of had in her mind that Charlie would be like, the man behind the powerful woman. I don't know.
But it does seem weird. And so when you hear about the history of who Erika Kirk is, it makes you go, this seems like a great launching pad for something that maybe this is something she already wanted to do. I want you guys to hear this woman. She broke down the history of Erika Kirk. who she is really well, and I thought it was worth taking a look at. So check this out.
So Charlie Kirk married a woman who was 5 years older than him. Erika Kirk is going to be 37 this fall. They got married in 2021, so unfortunately they didn't have a chance to be married for a very long time, but you can do the math there. She was in her 30s when he married her, and he was still in his 20s. Now, I know to like a normal person, none of this matters, and it shouldn't matter, but I'm going somewhere with this, so like stick with me. Apparently, she double majored in college. She majored in political science and international relations. She played collegiate level basketball.
Majoring in political science and like international relations. That seems like I'm going for a career in politics. If I do those things, I'm going for a career in politics. And I want to be clear. I think people are projecting what they feel about Charlie Kirk and how they would feel in that situation onto Erika Kirk before we continue, because I think this is an important point before we continue.
Why you should never.
You said just like Tom Brady and his ex-wife Giselle. Fame, ducking the allegations. So, but just because Erika has a Republican establishment backing, it doesn't mean that she's necessarily going to, really shine over there. And I think that's what it is. It's like, you look at the people who shine over there, the repetitive faces that we see. I barely see Tulsi Gabbard, right? All of the blondes, outside of the newscasters and stuff like that, you really don't see women as being just the big faces over there on the Republican side, because they're more like men lead, men first, men this. So there, and people disagreed with me when I said this about Erika Kirk. She's not going to be a good replacement for Charlie as a face for that organization. No, because when you're talking about conservative Christian values, right? Women don't lead. Women don't lead. Women don't front over there. So I don't know, what kind of buildup he's talking, like really what we're talking about with Erika Kirk, because I think Turning Point USA is either gonna go bye bye, or they're gonna find some dude that can face the organization, that probably the very Zionists that he did not want to continue selling out to are going to delegate.
I think the sadness that the people that are like, I see sadness in their eyes, and others are like, I don't see the sadness in their eye, myself included. I don't see the sadness. I don't see the grieving. I seen more pain and heartbreak in Candace Owens' statement than I did in Erika.
See, here's another person. See, this is a repetitive thing. This is why I wanted to play this part of his, because it kind of goes back to that dude's thing about the forbidden love theory, is what he called it. It's like forbidden love. Candace is showing just real heartfelt ride or die emotions. I do feel like, Erika Kirk is forcing. It seems like very forced. It doesn't seem organic.
I'm gonna be honest.
But again, people grieve differently. And so this woman could be obviously hurt, right? But they weren't married that damn long either. Like,
it's all speaking about,
keep that in mind.
And I saw it for days after that. Even when Candace was covering Charlie on her platform, I still saw in her eyes, I was like, I was praying for Candace. I'm like, yo, get some sleep, Candace. Like, you don't have to. I understand you feeling the need to be there and report. But man, take care of yourself too, because you can see the bags, you can see the sleepiness, you can see the heartbreak on Candace. I didn't see none of that on Erika Kirk. There's no point. I asked my wife.
Yeah, Candace damn near was about. It was like, to me, I felt like she was almost going insane, poor baby. And Candace talk about 1,000 miles, an hour. So it's like, she was talking a lot faster, and yeah, but she
My
was
wife
hurt.
about this. My wife was like, "There's no point that I will be even able to smile, let alone sit still to get my makeup done." My wife was like, the 2 days after when Erika Kirk did that tribute or did that statement on Charlie Kirk's channel.
Yeah,
My
that's
wife was
what.
like, I would have been up there in shades, my hair back, a hat on, no makeup, eyes swollen. And all my wives out there, you can imagine if this happened to your husband, you'd probably be the same way. When we didn't see that from Erika Kirk, it felt weird.
Yeah, I agree. When I saw that, I'm just like, why is she here right now? Like, so soon after her husband died. I really was not expecting to see her that soon. And that's just where, I don't know. I mean, and these people are so damn demonic. But it was weird. I definitely agree with that.
Um, so to this woman's point, I think that you know, Erika Kirk did seem like she wanted a career in politics prior to marrying Charlie Kirk. And, there's some history there.
Basketball, she was Miss Arizona USA and competed for Miss USA. She's worked as an actress, a model, a casting director.
She's worked as an actress, a model, and a casting director. I think working as an actress is interesting for this situation. You worked as an actress. Maybe that's why when we're seeing the videos where, she's like, I forgive him, it don't seem as genuine. It's like, are you acting right now? You know what I'm saying? Check it out. I don't want y'all to just think I'm saying these things. I want y'all to really look at it without projecting your sadness and how you would feel in that situation onto her. Right? Because a lot of us, we like, man, if that was me, you empathize from that perspective. Like, if that was me, I probably would feel like this. And so a lot of us are empathizing from the perspective like, man, this woman just lost her husband, her kids, she got to be a single mom. She's not the typical single mom, by the way. Doesn't take away from Charlie Kirk's kids not having their father. That's heartbreaking in itself. But she has a lot of support. Erika Kirk has a lot of support. But a lot of people I see projecting their trauma and what they feel about it onto her. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is. Maybe she's just a strong woman. I want to shoot her some bail. Maybe she's just a strong woman, and in my spirit, I just don't see the pain, and I don't see the heartbreak because she's just so strong. I don't know. But the whole thing seems weird, and I know I'm not the only one that feels that way. Maybe I'm the only one, the delicate. Just look at this portion here.
I forgive him. On the cross, our Savior said,
I forgive him.
Hey, this is Senator.
I don't know if I agree with this. I don't know if I agree with this all the way. I mean, because I don't know if he's making like, I don't, I don't like these internet people sometimes because it's like, I mean, I get it. We could speculate, based off of this woman's reaction to her husband's death, if she maybe loved him as much as she's pretending, but to speculate that she may have been involved and then kind of setting up the narrative that she wanted a political career, and ever since Charlie died, we're seeing this soft launch to a political career for Erika Kirk. I don't know. I will say that she's nailing it on all the talking points that people universally, if you are a Christian person, would agree with. She nailed it, on that part. So let's see. You guys, I believe they are going to try to make TPUSA into a ZEO organization. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. Charlie Kirk wouldn't play ball. He turned down their money, right? They got rid of him. They'll, they're matriarchal, so they'll put a woman, in its place who will play ball, and maybe Erika Kirk will be that woman. Um, yeah. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful evening. Lots of tea. We went down the conspiracy theorist lane like Candace Owens. Obviously, this is not as thorough. We're just going off of people's assumptions. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's really what Candace is doing. She's asking a bunch of rhetorical questions that, make a lot of people think, deeper into things that maybe we are getting at a surface level. Um, and I do respect her tactics on that way. But hopefully she don't get herself killed going after these people trying to, whoever killed Charlie, right? She's not accepting the kid and his little boyfriend. Who was the little pudgy kid that they found? I keep seeing videos of a little pudgy kid. Is that the second shooter, according to Candace Owens, or the second person that might have been involved? I don't think she's involved, but I think she's ready to continue the sellout. Now that, who knows who was involved, right? But I think that wouldn't you agree that if somebody is willing to sell out, if somebody's willing to sell out in the place of somebody who didn't want to sell out, wouldn't you think that they may have had something to do with the person who didn't want to sell out demise if they end up selling out? Something to think about, right? Something to think about. It's a great point, Ghetto Planet. I don't think she's involved, but I think she's ready to continue the selling out. Who in Turning Point USA, and even if Erika Kirk, allegedly, we're all just talking weird conspiracy and thinking right now. If they're willing to continue, or if they do something that usurps, what Charlie would have done, right? Wouldn't that make them sus? Like that would make them very, very sus. But anyways, you guys, let me know what you think about this. Charlie Kirk shoe just released from special. It's so much stuff going on with Charlie Kirk. This was interesting tea, if anything. I think I want to get off of Charlie Kirk, though. Kirk assassination, new information rises. I just think this is such a big distraction at this point. Let me get my ass to sleep. You guys, good night. We will talk about this more. Lots of conspiracies on the brew. For right now, I don't know. I don't know nothing about nothing definitively. I pray for everybody involved. I don't know if Erika Kirk was involved in her husband's demise so that she can be the queen of his throne, because he believed that her ass should stay at home and be at, taking care of kids and making sandwiches and being a traditional wife. Don't worry about your political science and all those ambitions of politics, right? Because you are standing behind Charlie Kirk. And I don't know, in the age of women empowerment, it befuddles me that a lot of these conservative men don't think that their bossy ass women aren't the same women, as these liberal women, right? They're not wearing feminism on their sleeves. They're wearing it in their personalities and how they treat you. I've seen the conservative Republican women dog the hell out of their husbands. So their whole idea of traditionalism, some of them, see you later, Ghetto Planet. And I'm out here too, but I've seen conservative women dog their men, right? I've seen conservative women be the pants in the relationship, just like liberal women. So who knows if Erika Kirk wanted to be the pants in a relationship or not, but she is the pants in the organization now. So kudos to her. Unfortunate situation that you got there, but you're there, girl. So now it's your turn to shine. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful day. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you would not disrespect or abuse your neighbor. Oh my God, I'm too tired for this, guys. Bye. I'm out. I am way tired.